Good morning, everybody. It is great to be with you all this lovely Saturday morning, the day before Easter. I hope you're having a good cup of coffee right now, enjoying this beautiful morning. Look at that. Flat, calm, gorgeous, a little bit of wind. It's a little chilly out here, but not really that bad at all. And it just sets up for a lovely Easter weekend. I hope you get to spend it with family and friends and really have a great time, because that's what Easter is all about, a time of hope and a time for families to come together. So I send you all my best for a happy Easter and a happy Passover a day early. And of course, I'll be back tomorrow to say that one more time again. All right, tonight we have got on this beach, on all these beaches, on many of these beaches, I should say, a Grunion run. Those tiny little fish that come up on the beach and deposit their eggs. Man, it's such a magical moment. And if you haven't taken your kids or you haven't seen it yourself, you owe it to yourself to go down to the beach and check it out. It is truly magnificent. We've got the schedule up at Friedman Adventures on Facebook, so you can check it out. I believe the run starts around 10 p.m. tonight. I never ever show up when the first hour is listed. In other words, if it says the run is from 10 till midnight, I show up at about 11. Maybe I've missed some early shows on the fish, but it rarely ever happens. It's always like an hour and a half into it when the fish show up. So if it's a little chilly and you're down there too early, sometimes the kids will lose interest and you're like, I'm out of here. This is freaking cold. And these dumb things are not going to show up anyway. You show up about an hour late, and normally that is about perfect. All right, you want to impress your neighbors and friends? Yeah, I mean, you're walking outside this morning and your neighbor says, hey, good morning. And you look at him and you say, good morning. Did you know that Grunion swim 44 miles an hour? And the guy looks at you and says, what the hell is a Grunion? Well, anyway, Grunion can swim up to 44 miles per hour, so they can book pretty darn good. Now, my question to you is, what do you call a baby Grunion? What do you call a baby Grunion? Well, you can call them a fry, a juvenile, or you can call them a larva. Any one of those three will do. So impress your family and friends with your vast knowledge about Grunion. All right, let's get into the sport fishing scene. And of course, we've got to go down to Ensenada, where that bluefin tuna is camped out right outside of there. It's still a little bit breezy. You know, April's a breezy month in Southern California. That's no surprise. Sometimes that breeze will last into May. And then sometimes the windy weather will manifest itself in the summer also. But normally, April, very breezy, so it's not a big shock that we have this kind of weather right now. Now, that area of bluefin tuna is still there, still the volume is there, it looks really good. We had a subsequent drop after that big blow in water temperature, and when that happens, fish like bluefin tuna sometimes will get lockjaw. They just are cold, I guess. They're like, it's too freaking cold to eat right now, so they don't eat all that much. So the bite is coming back, and there's been some decent scores. I mean, you go out and catch a nice bluefin, you got to be happy, but it's not the same as it was before the blow. But things are slowly but surely starting to recuperate, and it looks like that bite is for real. And while the boats are mostly on that area of bluefin there's got to be some other zones with fish on it too. I mean, out there on Tanner and Cortez, I'm thinking that's going to be good. So in the coming months, we'll see more and more of that bluefin tuna. The nocturnal bite at night's been the best, and fishing the lure is probably the most efficient way to take them, whether it's flat fall or knife jigs. They've all been super effective here recently. There's been some daytime fish also, and things in general just look good. It just needs a little bit of more on the warming, on the water temperature, and I think we'll get back to it. Coronado Islands, good signal there on Yellowtail. No big scores. You know, most of the guys are, 8, 10, 15, 5. Sometimes they miss, but those yellows are just starting to flush in there. We saw those yellows down there around Punta Banda, down there around Ensenada. They bounced around Todos Santos off Ensenada a little bit. We're seeing them at the Coronado Islands and elsewhere, so that bite should be picking up as we go along. And once again, a lot of run and gun fishing where the captain will see a spot of fish, run over there, you'll throw an iron or a bait, and hopefully hang one of those yellows. And there's a mix in terms of the size, but most of it's been nice, 15, 18, some of it up to 25 pounds. Nice grade of fork, and that looks really, really good right now. So hopefully that's going to continue to move in the right direction. And they do have some other fish there to fill the sacks, good whitefish, sheep's head, good fish, taco stuff. Nothing wrong with that, no question about it. Coastally, again, we're dealing with the wind and the drops in water temperature. You get up over 60 degrees, that's when you'll start to get a little bit more of a bite on the barracuda, sand bass, calico bass, that kind of stuff. Picking at it right now, relying mostly on the rockfish. I love fishing rockfish myself, so I've seen some good fishing down there at Dana Wharf. I've seen some good fishing down at Oceanside, up the coast here in San Pedro and Long Beach. It's really been good. And of course, up there in Ventura and the Channel Islands in general, just really, really good rock fishing. I'll get to that in a moment, but that's what's going on coastally. You know, we're still in this La Niña situation. Albacore forecast next week. We're in this La Niña, which means cooler water temperatures. Kelp grows better. We get more anchovies instead of sardines. And also, what is most important perhaps, during La Niñas, it seems like our migratory sand bass move in better. Unless there's something going on like overfishing or something like that, we're hoping we're going to see a lot more sand bass this year, and the migratory fish that move in and hang out for a while as they used to down there off Tijuana, up there around Oceanside on the clam beds, Huntington Flats, Santa Monica Bay, up there in the Channel Islands. Man, would that be something to go back to those sand bass bites that were so consistently awesome. And only time will tell. We'll see if that happens. The same thing with the barracuda. You know, barracuda love to eat little anchovies, and when we have cooler water and anchovies and we start to get up towards 63 degrees in our local water temperatures, you can see that gar really, really turn on. And barracuda fishing, man, I'll tell you, it is so much fun. They're great eating, even though they get a bad rap once in a while, but they are really, really good eating. And I'll tell you, fishing the iron for barracuda, what could be more fun than that? It is so great. They sometimes call them the poor man's wahoo. Either way, I don't really care. I mean, they are fun to catch. Sometimes they get pretty darn big, and I love throwing an iron and getting bit on the gar. There's nothing like it. So we're seeing a little bit of that, and high hopes that we're going to see a lot more of that as we go along. Well, the Pursuit has had decent fishing out there at Catalina Island. Had to go around on the Yellowtail the other day. Also, their first white sea bass of the season. That's really good. Sometimes in the springtime, what you'll see is we'll take a step forward and then take a step back. In other words, you get a good show on the yellows one day, you catch some yellowtail, you get some good bass fishing, and then the next day you're like, what happened? And that's pretty typical for the springtime, in this early springtime. Pursuit, those guys work super hard out of 22nd Street Landing, and they seem to come up with some excellent scores on a regular basis. So we'll continue to monitor and watch those guys. And of course, they're all about making sure you get some fish in the sack. They give the exotics a good hard try. They look for those yellow sea bass, and then they say, okay, maybe not today, or let's take a break from that and fill the sacks with some rockfish, some good eating fish, and then we'll go back and try that one more time. That's kind of the philosophy, and there is nothing wrong with that. San Clemente Island has been looked at recently. The water out that way is kind of cool right now, so we're not seeing any kind of real consistent bite. Some private boaters have had excellent calico bass fishing out that way, but it's not quite ready yet. However, some guys are going to go out there and look, and it wouldn't surprise me to get a go around on the yellowtail, sea bass. You know, that is all a possibility. And we go back to, of course, the squid situation. I've talked about it a lot, but that biomass of squid was up there on Monterey last year. It moved down to the Channel Islands. And, you know, I mean, all these predators follow that squid. There's squid at Catalina Island also. That is so important to the springtime bite, because that magnet has been in effect for several months now, just attracting predators, white sea bass, yellowtail, big halibut. All of those species love to gorge themselves on squid, and that's why I'm excited about this spring when this water gets up consistently over 60 degrees, starts to get up there 63, 64, 65. Look out. I think cat's going to bite. You could have Santa Barbara Island biting. You could have Clemente biting. And then up there in the Channel Islands, I tell you, those guys have had a lock on some great sea bass fishing for the past several years. Just magnificent fishing on the big halibut up there. We've seen a little evidence of it already. I know Tucker had a go around up there on the Endeavor. I know that down there at Channel Islands Sportfishing, they've had a shot of it. We're starting to see a little bit more of it creep in. Then we get the wind and we go backwards again. But once that all settles down, look out. It is going to be good this year. It is really going to bite, and I am totally excited about it, especially the prospects of us getting a bite here in the local area. That could really, really be good. In the surf, you know, this wind does the same thing. It reduces water temperatures, and we don't get as good a bite. But as you can see, those sandpipers behind me, they are probably feeding on bean clams, little small clams that are there in the sand. And I'll tell you right now, we have an excellent chance with some warming weather to get back to that decent corvina fishing. There's been corvina around here. Most of those corvina being taken on bait, and sandworms have been super effective, and sand crabs have been very, very effective. So hopefully we're going to see more and more corvina show up. Yellowfin croaker starting to bite up and down the beach. And of course, what is better than catching a halibut from the surf? And you know, I caught a couple of shorts so far this year. It's still kind of cool when you yank a halibut out of the surf. It's just, I don't know, special. Let's put it that way. And if you get a legal fish, then you're really on cloud nine. And all of the aforementioned species you can return to the sea, or you can have a fish taco feast because they are really good eating. I love yellowfin croaker tacos. They are delicious. I don't care what anybody says. We dine on them all the time, and they are delicious. And I'm only growing 3 new toes as a result of eating them, so I can't see any real problem with that. All right, so surf fishing should pick up from the border and down below the border. I've been down there fishing some beaches in Mexico. Going to go do that again here real soon. I like the prospects of what's going on here in the surf. If you need some surf fishing gear, right down the street from me here, Big Fish Bait and Tackle in the beautiful city of Seal Beach, California. Over there in Carson, you've got Island Fishing Tackle. I'll be over there this morning hanging out with Sam for a little bit and talking about our May 15th event. And remember, May 15th, we'll be at Long Beach Marine Stadium from 8 in the morning until 11 in the morning. And we'll have some free raffles. We'll have one paid raffle that, thanks to Israel, he is a guy, Israel de la Cruz, who donated a beautiful reel that we're going to raffle off, and of course use that to raise funds to get more goods down to Mexico. We've been doing that, and I've got so much stuff that we're going to ship it down. That costs a lot of money. We're going to store it, and we're going to have a big giveaway here in the coming months. Not sure exactly when, but you'll be invited if you'd like to come down, hang out with us, and help distribute food and clothing to some people who really need your help. That would be absolutely fantastic. And Israel, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so very much for your support in everything we do. So May 15th, you come out, learn how to throw an iron with us, and that's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have all kinds of pros down there. So if you're a novice, intermediate, or even really, really good at it, we'll have some casting for distance contests also. That is all for you, and it'd be great to meet you. I'm also going to raffle off free a dozen of my homemade burritos, which are the talk of the town as always. Eddie Leland, old-time captain, loves those burritos. I took them down to Island Fishing Tackle the other day, and those guys all loved them. So get set. Those burritos are so good. We're going to raffle off that. We're going to raffle off some fishing tackle, something really actually worthy of you showing up. And we're going to just have a good time. You want to come down, drink a cup of coffee, you want to talk about this year's charters, whatever it is you want to do. And speaking of this year's charters, we're selling out fast. I think we have 2, maybe 4 spots left. We're sold out on our first 2 trips, but the next one is July the 5th on board the Pride. Maybe have 2 or 4 spots left on that, not sure. You can get our entire list, because we do have some fall trips, by sending me a text and just ask me to send you our charter list. The number to text to is 657-227-6459. Now, speaking of Easter, if you want a religious message or you've lost a loved one here recently, tomorrow at 12 noon, Elizabeth Gutierrez Johnson. She works at Big Fish Bait and Tackle. You go in there and get your bait from her and your tackle. Lovely young lady, but she has another side, and that is she has a deep and abiding faith in her Christian faith, and she wanted to share that with you. So if you're not into religion, probably not something you want to watch, but if you want to hear that message and you've lost a loved one and you're having trouble coping with that loss, that's what Elizabeth does. She helps people through that process. She's been through it with her mother. She came out and decided that after all that pain, she was going to try to help others. So tomorrow, 12 noon, on the Friedman Adventures YouTube channel, you can tune in, watch Elizabeth, and during that time period, from 12 noon, I think that shows 40 minutes, you can communicate with her. You can text back and forth. You can tell her that you've lost a loved one and maybe perhaps set up a meeting or just talk to her a little bit. And I think getting to know the other side of some of the people in this industry is something that's valuable and really, really interesting. All right. Man, look at that ocean. It looks pretty good. What am I doing up here yapping away when I should be tossing my chrome crocodile, trying to catch a nice halibut this morning? I wish you all the very, very best. It is gorgeous out, and I hope you're having a really nice Easter Sunday weekend. Remember, it really helps us a lot when you subscribe to Friedman Adventures on YouTube. Hit that like button, hit that little bell, and we'll notify you when we have more content. Don't forget, you can get us on all the platforms that you listen to your podcast on, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the rest. Please check that out, and we'll be back with all of you with updates and fishing videos and so much more throughout this great year of 2022. Can't wait to do that. All right, everybody, have a great morning. Good to be with you. And we'll see you again really, really soon.